Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Mental Brew podcast. And today we delve into the comedy world. So we have Mr. Andrew Ryan with me today, which we're delighted to have. And Andrew has played or taken to the stage across the UK and Ireland. He has his own podcast. He's a spot on the radio, Q Radio, if I'm not mistaken. So Andrew, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, good to be here, man.
And I suppose we get started the same way all the time. So Andrew, why do you do what you do?
Sure, what else would I be doing? Like, um, why do I do what I do? Well, I'd be very addicted to it, you know.
Okay.
I did my first comedy gig when I was 14, at home. I stole a load of Billy Connolly material and I stood up in the fireplace in my mum's house and just did a load of his jokes to me aunties and uncles and got a bug. People laughed. I mean, I think they laughed out of pity more than the comedy, but yeah, I got really into comedy from the age of like 12 and 13. I grew up living in Douglas, in Donnybrook in Douglas. And I remember hearing Scrap Saturday when I was about 6.
Yes.
And Dermot Morgan and all them. And though he was like, I wouldn't have had much of an interest in politics or anything like that. But I remember seeing my dad laughing uncontrollably. And I thought, well, this is good.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I got into things like Father Ted, Black Books, all those kind of comedy sitcoms. And then, yeah, when I was like 15 and 16, I was in school. I signed up to a few drama courses and I was kind of going down the acting route. And I realized that I wasn't particularly very good with direction. I'd always wouldn't be able to, I'd always kind of be a bit of a messer. So comedy was something that I wanted to do. And I would constantly go to comedy gigs and sneak into city limits when I was like 17 and stuff. And
Yeah.
going to the Opera House and the Everyman. So, like, some people on a Saturday morning would be going off training GA or
Yeah.
playing football or something like that. Like, I was trying to go to comedy shows. That was just I found this thing and I was interested in it. And obviously, growing up in Cork, like, there's a kind of like, probably the most common question that I get asked is like, how do you start? Like, how do you just start? Like, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, there is no rule book. It's not like going to university and you do your course and you send out your CV. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I went to England quite young then. 22 was I 23 or something? About 23, I think it was, and I've not been home since.
Wow. Okay.
I moved home. I left 2006, and I've not been. I'm 18 years out of Cork, like, but I'm in Cork a lot. I'm in Cork on Friday, like.
Yeah.
um, I've been trying to buy a house back in Cork, but unfortunately, I don't know if you've heard, there's a bit of a housing crisis,
A bit,
and
a bit.
if you're self-employed, you have a zero chance anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I went to England and I realized obviously the comedy scene in England was the place to be. Like that's where they would come from, America and Australia and Canada, and comedy clubs in England are practically like GA matches or soccer matches for us. They're stuck into the fibre of the communities there. Every
Okay.
town, every village will have a comedy club. I often found, in especially in Ireland, I know it is changing. Is that it's like, oh, do you want to go to a comedy show? And you go like, if we don't know who's on, why would I go? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now with the change in social media and the TikToks and the Instagram, you don't have to be on the Late Late Show or Live at the Apollo or all these type of shows
Mm.
to actually build up a following, which has benefited a lot of comedians who probably weren't given that opportunity. So I
Yeah.
must say I found my little outlet and I go down that road. That's me now. So I do it. Why do I do it? Because I fell in love with it as a kid. Took me a long time to start, and I would probably do it if I didn't get paid anyway.
Yeah. Okay. It's just that
So
passion, like.
yeah, I'm very lucky that it's a job. But if
Yeah.
they said to me like you can do it but you don't get paid, I'm like, oh, I'll still do it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, because I love it. Like that's
Yeah.
just I'm very lucky that I can make a living off it, and I'm very quite privileged to be able to do something that I love.
And it's like, would it be fair to say that it's kind of a very unnatural thing to be getting up in a massive room of people? And like realistically, there is definitely an element of vulnerability about it because you're going out there, whether you're warming up for someone or not, they're still, you still have your time with these people and you're letting them
Yeah.
into your life a bit. Because the first clip I saw of yourself was on Instagram. It was some gig where a fella heckled down to you that, oh, this is rubbish or something, and you asked him what? and you were like, well, you still paid to get in here. Are you still getting paid at the end of this? And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
hooked after that. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. Like it's like you it is mad when you think about it, like what you're
Yeah.
doing is mad, but it's also very normal.
Yeah.
Like I think, I would find it people who box, what they're doing is
Yeah.
absolutely mental. But to them,
Fair, yeah.
that's just normal.
Yeah.
I think someone explained this to me now. I wouldn't be big into this kind of sciencey stuff, but someone said to me, it's like wires in your brain. And the more you do something, the more you become comfortable at doing it.
Mm.
Therefore, when I started doing comedy, I would have a lot of anxiety and a lot of nerves and sleepless nights worrying about just even it was just like a 5-minute spot.
Yeah.
I'm going out in front of 8,000 people in November at an arena, and
Wow.
I'm actually annoyed that it's so far away. It's only in November.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it is very addictive, and I get a lot of personal happiness from it,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest with you, it kind of dominates my life. I've missed out on a lot of christenings and weddings and family stuff, and
Mm.
which I'm kind of trying to make up a little bit now by getting home as much, purely because when you do start out in comedy, you don't just I do comedy and now I'm a superstar. No, you spend years, like you spend
Yeah.
years being nothing. It's like watching football, right? A right back comes on for Liverpool. He's 21, and people go, "Oh, who's this new kid?" I'm like, he's not new. He's been in
Yeah.
the system. He's been in that system he's been in that system for 13 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody within the industry knows who this kid is.
Yeah.
You're only seeing him now because he's now ready to move up.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of people will, especially in comedy, like when I started out, like a lot of them would quit.
Yeah.
So I was in a group of about 10 in my kind of year.
Yeah.
10 or 12 of us in my year that we'd always see each other at the new material nights and the competitions and stuff, the new acts of the year.
Okay.
And I was in it with Joe Lycett, and me and Joe became really good friends. And then we ended up kind of like living together in Edinburgh. And I used to tour support, like he's a massive superstar. And then
My wife loves him.
Yeah, like and everybody, and Joe would be a good friend of mine. Like I would,
Yeah.
but everybody else quit.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like a lot of people will quit, and it's just about thinking they didn't want to put the time in for the travel, their personal circumstances. I'm not married. I have no kids. I'm a 41-year-old man. Like what else am I doing?
Yeah.
So I would have sacrificed a lot of my personal life for doing comedy. Yeah, like and it's crazy, but I love it.
Where did the drive come from? So obviously you just said there, you've given up things that you kind of would have loved to have been to, obviously, but like this being success in this career is really important. Where did that drive come from?
Well, when I left school, I went to Christians. Not my choice. I was sent there. People always say to you, like, "Oh, you're Christian, so you're quite posh." Yeah, I was 12, mate. I didn't choose it. Like, I don't really have a say on the school I go to. My mom was like, "You're going there," and I went, "Where is it?" It's in Cork City. I was like, I would have happily gone to Carrigaline like.
Yeah.
So I would have, or Douglas or something, because I lived in Douglas for a while as well.
Yeah.
But, didn't do particularly well in the leaving. Awful, really. I think I got 180 points. And then I just got some quite boring jobs, like some jobs I really liked. Like I always loved bar work.
Yeah.
I worked up in the Maryborough House Hotel for years in terms of like summer holidays, like summer holiday of 5th year. And then you'd spend 3 months up there and you go back and do the 6th year then and stuff. I worked in the HSE for 3 years as a clerical officer. Worked in the Urnville Maternity Hospital before it moved up to the CUH.
Yeah.
I used to work there when the babies were stolen. Do you remember the story about the babies being stolen?
Yeah.
Don't worry, they're fine. They're fine. Like the babies are back, like and the babies are like they're probably about 20 years old now, like you know what I mean.
They can listen to this podcast.
They can be listening to you one of the Urnville missing babies that came back within 4 days. All I remember is Pascal Sheehy from RTE like walking around looking for an interview, like.
Yeah.
And, so I worked there, and then I got a little bit, and I worked in another department there, the finance department, and I got a bit, I hated it. Like I liked the people. Don't get me wrong. Like people were fine. It's just like I was like, this isn't what I was doing, and I was a bit of a messer in there. And I think people knew my personality wasn't suited to the sort of 9 to 5 admin. So I shipped up and I moved over to England for a bit of crack for 6 months, and I thought, sure, if it doesn't go well, I'll always go home. Like,
fair points.
And I have not been home since.
Yeah, that's mad. You say about doing the different jobs. I would have done my Jesus. I think my original leaving cert I did in 2004, and I just was lazy, didn't know what I wanted to do, unmotivated. So I did the classic. I'll do a trade. So I did that for a year, and I hated it. Man, it was.
I was trying to become a Spark, at one point.
Oh yeah.
I tried to get into what's that big company in Cork? They're always
Sisk.
down. No, it's a Spark. No, it's not Sisk. They're always down in a skiddy down the plants there to do the election.
Yeah.
But my buddy Colin Hackett, who owns the KLM pub down the Lord Landmire Road, he's a Spark, and he said, "I'll get you an apprentice, man." And you're going in on what, like 100 euro a week, or
not great. No, it's not hectic.
Yeah, so, but I was delighted. I went over to England. I kind of didn't know anybody, and I just, this was before social media as well, so like I was doing all this stuff. Like I didn't own a laptop until 10 years ago. Like I'm not a tech guy. I only learned social media during the pandemic.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have had the patience for it. Like, but now I like it now. Like it's part of my job, like it's a job now. Like, you know what I mean? And but I just went to England, and I got stuck in another rut over there, if you know what I mean. But I was going to comedy all the time, but I just didn't have. I couldn't process how doing it in my head. And then one night I just did it, man, and I got booed off after 2 minutes, and I loved it.
Really?
I loved it. I thought, this is what I want to do. Even though it was awful, like it was embarrassing, it was cringy, but I went to bed that night and I went, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But what you said before about the rut, I've experienced that with careers as well, and hence why doing what I'm doing now. That rut can be a dangerous thing, can't it? Because
well, you see, I got stuck in a rut twice.
Yeah,
I got stuck in a rut in Cork, but I was young, I was 18. And I can kind of forgive myself for that because I'm 18, like, you know what I mean? And then I got stuck in another rut when I was about 24, up until I was about 26. And if you actually said to me now, Andrew, tell me something you did when you were 25 years of age. Tell me something you did that was pretty cool, pretty unique. I actually can't tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I went to work, came home, went to the pub at the weekend, with the lads, went to work, came home, and there was nothing of note to make me stand out in my life.
Yeah.
And I went, so I'm going to get to 45 and not remember anything apart from the odd week in Tenerife, or the odd meeting, the odd stag do in bloody Berlin or something like that. And don't get me wrong, that's all great stuff. But then I went, nah. I said, I get one go at this now. And if I fail, I'll fail in England and nobody will know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you fail in Cork, I mean, the fucking village knows. Like.
Do you hear with Andrew Ryan? He fucking failed.
I mean, he's not. I mean, he should book into Tabor Lodge or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But isn't that a very Irish thing to do, though? Do you know what I mean? So, like, there's Andrew will say at mid-20s, kind of going, I'm going to have a go at comedy, which would be, like, to me, would be mental. Like, I just think it's class. I was shit the bed, like you wouldn't believe. But it's such an Irish thing then to cut the back off a fellow when he actually goes outside of the comfort zone. Yeah.
There's a great comedian called Rory O'Hanlon. He's got this joke, and he goes, in America, they go like, what do you want to be when you're a kid? I want to be president, And everyone's like, go, you go. If you said that to your parents in Ireland, you're like, what do you want to be when you're older? Like, I want to be president. You'd walk down in the morning, your dad look at you, oh, look, here comes the president. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you think you're funny, do you? Like, I would say there's people in Cork that have come to see me for a look.
Okay, okay.
They're like, I kind of knew him, or I know his brother, must go for a nose. Like,
yeah. And it's more for the sneer than anything else.
It's more of a saying, your man thinks he's doing all right. And they'll always find a way to settle you down, like,
Yeah, oh yeah, oh fuck it, come
But
here.
you have to, and like, you know what? That's just the Irish way sometimes. And you know what? It's good. I think there's pros to it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all like, let you get it done. You don't get ahead of yourself, like,
And
So,
how have you dealt with, I suppose, the reach people have with you? And what I mean by that is, I can go on, I can get my phone now and go on your Instagram. I can look at a video and go, this is shit.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how do you deal with that? Because I suppose that was one of the reasons I delayed doing this podcast myself, was like the sneer, like, oh, just fucking doing a thing for it.
Drives me on, man. Drives me on. Love
Yeah.
it.
It
Well,
doesn't bother.
the thing is, I probably get 2 comments a day that, I'll end up blocking, and I do
Okay.
breakfast radio, and in Belfast, I live in Belfast now with my partner, and
Yeah.
she's from here. And like, oh, I mean, when a Southern Irish accent comes on a national station in the north, I did get a little bit of like, obviously there's the history of the north and the
Yeah,
Irish
yeah, yeah.
side, and like here's a Southern Irish person up here, and I think I got a little bit of a tiny little bit of like, who does he think he is coming up from down there, up here, blah blah blah. The way I look at it is, it's not really a reflection on you.
Yeah.
What people got to remember, I often find, especially if you're putting yourself out there. So I'd say to you now, right? You're probably saying to yourself, I want to start a podcast, right? But Jesus Christ, like there's fucking hundreds of podcasts,
I said that, yeah. I
right?
did.
So
Yeah.
what am I, how are you going to add value in your podcast game, right? So the way I look at it is like this: there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has an audience, right? So like, you don't go, oh, there's too many indie bands, there's too many folk bands, there's too many dance acts, there's too many DJs, there's too many football clubs.
Yeah, true.
Right? There's room for everybody, and everybody, you can find your audience. Now, like, I get people who, slag me off. Like, if I did a thing there recently on the radio, and it was when Stormont in the North went back to work, and we did a pretend request. Michelle has just sent in a request. She wants to wish Jeffrey the best of luck as he goes back to work after 2 years, right? And the song was, they're going back to work and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Well, the place went 90% of people thought it was hilarious, but that 10%,
Yeah.
I should be sacked immediately, and all this kind of stuff. Like, the way I kind of deal with it is it's more, they're always faceless, and they don't allow anybody any time to develop.
Yeah.
So I make my mistakes in front of people.
Yeah.
So I'm a comedian, so I perform, so I'm in a live environment, or I'm like live radio. I make my mistakes in front of a footballer. Has to develop while playing football.
Yeah.
Okay, my nephew's playing for Cork City under 14s, right? He's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, but he has to do that in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
It's how you react and say, like, if you see a comedian that's 3 years in and they're putting up videos, and okay, their act may not be fully polished or tight, whatever, someone saying you're shit, give up. I often kind of think to myself, yeah, but what have you started?
Yeah. Really good point.
What have you done? So, like, my point to you is, you're starting this podcast now, and you're probably thinking to yourself, like, what am I going to get out of it? I got a lot out of your last podcast.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Right?
Thank you.
Hence why I reached out to you. Now, you're probably thinking, like, what would I learn? Well, I really learned a lot about the guy, building his business up in Cork City. And, the owner of Cork City was at my nephew's first ever game for the under 14s.
Okay. Okay.
He actually talked about it. And my brother said to me, like, he was there when my nephew Louis made his debut.
Brilliant.
And like, I got a lot out of that, because I got a lot of, I actually thought, oh, Cork City seems like it's in a bit of a safe hands now. This guy, he's genuinely interested in the club. This isn't a sort of come in, make a load of money, try and qualify for the Europa Conference League, take all that money out and do a runner.
Yeah.
He's a guy from Cork and blah, 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 So when you're probably questioning what impact you're having, well, I got a lot out of it. So it did have an impact.
Yeah.
So, but what happened is that you might find, like, oh, I'm doing this 3 months and I'm putting all this work in. I'm doing this 2 years and I'm putting all this work in. It's not really going anywhere. But a footballer takes 10 years to get anywhere.
Very true. Very
So,
true.
like, a golfer, Like, think of a golfer. Like,
Yeah,
think of a
very
comedian.
true.
Like John Bishop was 15 years before he got any TV in England.
Yeah,
So people are constantly looking for these instant, easy results.
yes,
And
100%.
I just continue. I'm 16 years a comedian. I started, well, Chris Kent started a little bit ahead of me. Chris is about 18 years. Chris be one of my closest friends.
Mm.
And everybody knew Chris had the skill set, but he never gave up.
Yeah,
Never gave up. We were living together over in England. And he wasn't getting any gigs. Never. He could have easily have, gone. I know with the pandemic he ended up going back as a Spark, but like
yeah,
that was kind of circumstance. But
yeah,
like
absolutely.
but he never stopped. And now he can't. Now I ask him, will he ever stop doing his tour? Because he's taking the piss now. He's so successful. Do you know what I mean? Like, so my point is that like when you're 18 years in and you only have, and he's had a great year. He's had 17 years.
Yeah, so hard work.
And now
Yeah,
the impact is on year 18.
yeah,
So when I say to people who are a year, 2 years in, whether you're fucking learning the piano, trying to get fit, build a coffee shop, build a business, stop thinking about the other people ahead of you and what they're doing. You're in a completely different spirit. You just focus on your own growth and do it in your own way. And you
yes,
make loads of mistakes. And you know what? That's good. I've
yeah.
fucked up more things than I've been successful at. You know what I mean?
What you said there, I'm actually I'm doing a course there at the moment, Red to Blue. So shifting mindsets from red to blue and whatnot, right? But there was a question we got asked in our training where it was, have we ever recognized a point where we're in redhead? And I would say yes. So even going back to your example there is when I started this off, I'd be triggered by seeing people in my area kind of getting out there and doing business because I was coming from teaching, like where
Yeah.
I've never had to sell, I've never had to do any of that stuff. It was very safe, and taking that step was horrifically hard, to be honest. And I was
Yeah.
getting triggered by seeing other people, but then I basically reframed it and gave myself my head a wobble basically, and kind of goes, look, come here, they could be at this 5 years. You're only at this 3 months.
Yeah.
It's and it made all the difference. Things have
Yeah.
gone well since, which is great.
Oh, like I started comedy and I didn't go full. I didn't, for the first 2.5 years, I got myself in 4.5 grand worth of debt just from doing it.
Yeah.
Because so you don't get paid when you start.
Yeah.
So like I would pay for hotels out of my own pocket and I gave up my social life and I basically had no life other than going to do these new gigs. And I invested in myself and I thought,
Yeah.
right, well, if it doesn't work out, I can just pay the money back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then I got paid for a gig and I was like, oh my God, if I can get paid for one gig, I can get paid for two.
2 gigs, yeah. Brilliant. That's great. Like, because
People don't, yeah, I ain't no motivational fucking coach here now. Like, hey man, give me loads of money and I'll teach you how to build a business. I think a lot of those people are snake oil salesmen, right? And they're con artists. And a lot of them, if you actually look into them, they actually have really dodgy backgrounds. And I actually think they're overcompensating. And I'd say a lot of them could do with the inland revenue, having a good look at them, right? Like, honestly, like they should be on prime time or something like.
Yeah.
Prey on vulnerable people. That's what they do, right? And they sell you something that you cannot prove that did or didn't work. Like it's all ideas, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I just think what frustrating is like for people is like you're starting this off now, like you straight away you're comparing yourself to somebody else.
Yeah.
And like, I look at other comedians, like I look at Chris, like me and Chris are both from Cork, we're both the same age, we both are out on tour, right?
Mm.
There's probably nobody more in Ireland, maybe bar from his wife, that is more happy that Chris Kent has got loads of success.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's not competitive.
Yes.
Every team, it's not, to me, I don't look at it as competitive. You go to a comedy night and there's 4 comedians on, right? Yeah. And you leave your friend and your friend will turn on. I tell you who my favorite one was. The 4 comedians aren't thinking that.
Yeah.
Audience are thinking it, but you're not. So you have to take away what you think people are thinking of you, because what they're thinking of you isn't actually how you're working.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like, I have a lot of people like that would, they probably see like stuff that I do and they think, oh, he's probably doing something like, say, for example, like, oh, I do a podcast, right, called Cork in the North. And it's like when I started out, I was getting, I don't know, 200 listens a week. I now
Yeah.
get about between 40 and 50,000 a month.
Wow.
And big sponsors. We've sold out 3 live shows. We sell merchandise. We have had near 500,000 downloads. We've had nearly 1 million views on clips.
Wow.
That was 2 years. But the first year, it cost me about 3 grand to do. But I'm in year 3 now, and now I can actually see it work. I can actually see it building. So where can I be in year 5?
Because that was one of my questions, actually. No, I never do prep for podcasts, right? But I do have
Neither do
questions
I.
for this one.
Neither do I.
No, oh, brilliant. Because I thought I was the only one.
Oh, don't. Just fucking chat shit, man.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I'm great at doing that. My buddy will tell you that. But I was going to ask you your goal. So you've said it there. So you've done live shows and merchandise and stuff. Because I kind of I have a goal for this. The only person I told is my wife. But if it happened even once, I would be ecstatic. I would
What
love
is it?
I would love to have a live show in the Opera House.
Well, then, well,
Love that.
the 2 Norries did it.
Yeah.
Chris might be doing it. Like, why not?
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, it would be,
So,
that
like,
would be
that's a
amazing.
perfectly reasonable and easy target. It's not an easy target to get. It's an easy. It's within achievable. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how long are you
That
doing? How long are you doing this podcast now?
only since last August.
Sure. What are you worrying about? Jeez, that's brilliant.
Yeah, like it's, do you know what? It's become a bit of a passion project.
Yeah.
Just to see what high performers do. And
I
the
wouldn't
one
class
thing,
myself as a high performer now.
well, no, to be fair, because and I'll explain why, right? So you've done like the Fringe Festival, you've got your own tour coming up. Obviously November, myself and the wife will be at the White Horse, so I'll be seeing you there. You have now a deadline, right, to prepare stuff for your tour, or would you say a massive gig that comes up in your calendar, right? How do you prepare for that in terms of material? Because if you're launching new material, obviously, is it a quality over quantity thing? Because you obviously want it to be funny, but at the same time, you're still working on a deadline where you go, shit, I need 15 minutes new material for this X, Y, and Z show. Like, how do you perform under that kind of pressure?
That's why I put the tour on.
Okay.
Because I like deadlines. I'm a good deadline person, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my tour goes on sale. My tour's on sale, starts on the 3rd of September.
Yeah.
Where are we now? End of March. My tour, I need to do about an hour and 10 minutes on stage every night.
Okay.
And at the moment, I've got 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that 15 minutes is probably only 6 out of 10.
Okay. Right.
And I'm very excited about what's going to happen because I've done it before. I trust myself. This is how I work.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it every day. I get excited about it. I love the fact that I have to produce by September. And I love the pressure. I've sold nearly 3,000 tickets so far. I love that 3,000 people are giving me a night of their week, that they are getting taxis, babysitters, food, WhatsApp groups, admin, showers, coming home from work, change, eating their dinner, running out the door, putting their bum on a seat to listen to me chat.
Yeah.
That to me, I'm very aware of how difficult it is for people to leave a house nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, a ticket might be 15, 20 euro. It's not. It's everything around that. A night out now is 50, 60, 70 euro. So I'm fully aware that it is 50, 60, 70 euro. And to me, that's how I work. I mean, the ticket price, say, might be 18, 20 euro. But in my head, I'm working at 50 euro.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's the value that they're putting on their night. Like, and
Yeah.
you got to respect people's nights out. Like, people got to come to you. And if these people have kids, man, they're only getting out once a month. If you know what I mean. So you want them to leave and go, I'll see him again next year now, or I'll see her again next year when they come back. So, like today now, for example, I stared at a wall for about 4 minutes today, just thinking of a turn of phrase. Like,
Wow.
do you know what I mean? Just trying to get a turn of phrase right.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it right. I don't think I got it right. So, like, you know, I know the show, like I know the show that I want, you know, like, and I'm also decided to talk about some stuff that's quite personal this year, where I've had to like contact my brother and ask him for permission to talk about something
Okay.
family related, like, and he's like, yeah, do whatever you want, like, you know. So I'm talking about a few things that I may not have spoken about before, because I want to, like, you know, give people a bit of an insight into like why I think a certain way or why I live a certain way, you know. So yeah, I'm like 6-7 months away now, and I'm on it every day. So some days I might do 5 minutes on it. The next day I might do 90 minutes. Then I might do 15 minutes. It all depends.
And this could be a stupid question. Apologies now if it is. But like, have you like certain teams within the show you're looking to hit? Like, basically, how does a joke come to you? Is kind of what I want to get to. Like,
well, I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. So I want to talk about living in Belfast, but I want to talk about living in Belfast without talking about the most obvious thing about Northern Ireland / the north of Ireland, which is the history of the Troubles. I want to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Because I feel we've kind of been there, you know?
Yeah.
But my girlfriend, she comes from the British side.
Yeah.
So I live in a Protestant area.
Okay.
And I love it. But obviously people are like, oh my God, like that's mad. Right. And I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
Perfectly normal.
Yeah.
I can wear my Cork GA top. I wear my Republic of Ireland jersey. I have never been so welcome anywhere. So I'm going to try and talk about my sort of like ignorant view of what I thought life was going to be like here to what life actually is. And it's kind of like to say, like, to people, like, what you think it is and what it is very different.
Yeah.
And I do a bit in the joke where, like, I talk about like finding out that this girl I was dating was British. When I asked her, like, you know, when you go on holiday, which queue are you in? Like, are you in the fast queue or the British queue? Like, so like, she's like, oh, I just got my British passport. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Putting me up here now.
Yeah, so the whole thing is about me living with a British girl from Northern Ireland, and it's about how I've tried to get her to change her identity.
Okay.
And then I realize that she's actually perfect like the way she is. I don't need to do anything. And then it's about like me coming to terms with the fact that, like, as somebody who, in theory, not the I would like to see United Ireland, obviously, but I don't know how that would work. But in theory, I like the idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it would work.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position. But and it's about kind of saying like, oh, this place isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then I kind of moved that into like, why did I think that way? And then I realized that in my life, I've always taught like certain things, and I've always kind of like flew by the seat of my pants by going off a bit of a whim, and then goes into a few stories about like, I got sick in Switzerland and I didn't have any insurance, and they tried to charge me $4,000 and I didn't want to pay them. And I, you know, fell asleep in the bed every time they were trying to get me to pay and all this kind of stuff, right? And then I was like, Simon Coven, he must have a deal, like, there must be a deal, like, you know what I mean? You know, and then I talk about going to buy Viagra and stuff like that, like, and going in to buy Viagra, and they're like, what do you want? There's a girl there, and I'm like, oh, just give me some Nurofen, you know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for a fella, I'm waiting to get served for a fella, like, and then it's like, you know, I had to fill out a form apparently, and I was a bit like, I've never filled out a form on me, you know, like, this is ridiculous. And then I talk about like I do a bit of stuff on relationships, but, you know, not being married and not having kids at my age, and different, you know, and all my friends. I've gone through the engagements, the marriages, the christenings. I'm now going to we need an intervention because I need to leave him, or I need to leave. I mean, like I'm like going, you know, there's somebody else out there for you, like. You know, like, I've gone through all that completely unscathed, and the reason is because of a massive fear of commitment. So why do I have a massive fear of commitment? You know, my parents didn't have a great marriage. So like, I think marriage in my eyes doesn't really look great.
Yeah.
And then it's a you know, my mom passed away a couple of years ago from cancer. So like all this kind of stuff, you know, like, so so it's about like what you think and what is real. That's the kind of what the show is about, you know. It's very loose now. I'll be honest with you, like, it is very, very loose. But there is a loose team. I don't want to really to structure the stuff too much, because I don't want to ram things down people's throats. one thing I don't like doing in comedy is I don't like telling people how to think.
Yeah.
And some comedians do that. I would never tell anybody how to think or how to vote or how to live your life.
Yeah.
That's business. I'm just telling you what's going on with me and how I see things. And if you
Yeah.
can get a laugh out of it and you can relate to some of it, then fantastic.
Because I obviously told Ash, my wife, that we were coming on tonight, so she was watching the clips on your Instagram and stuff. What I love is your interaction with the crowd. You know, those elements of your gigs, right? But can that completely throw you off where you want to go in terms of maybe your mental routine of, look, okay, it's going to be step 1 to 2 to 3, and then you have your interaction and it can completely go off course. Like, how do you keep track of that?
Well, it doesn't really. See, I do both the jobs, so I can do the hosting of the show,
Yeah.
which will be the MC, and I'll bring on 3 or 4 acts, or I can do my own sort of 20 minutes, half an hour if I'm in a club, or if I'm in the middle of something and something happens in the crowd or something, I can come out of it and
Yeah.
deal, and then I could easily just kind of find a way to go back into it, you know.
Brilliant.
You gotta like, don't be afraid of that, and also as well as like, I really think it's important to be present in the room.
Yeah.
Especially like, I've been to some comedians in the UK, and I swear to God, they could have been performing in any place in the world that night.
Yeah.
It was very like, hello, good evening, it's great to be here. So I was in Tesco the other day.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was special to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think one thing I like to do is I want people to leave and be like, oh my God, he was really there with us.
Yeah.
So I will react to if anything happens, you know. But I'll be honest with you, you know, most people at gigs like are grand, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
people think heckling is bad. Heckling very rarely happens. Like, it's not even, I can't even tell you any great heckling stories because it's
Yeah.
very frequent. Like, it's like
Okay.
drugs and heckling. It does happen, and when it does, it's a bit of a pain in the arse, but it's all right. Like, I mean, it's not the biggest issue at the moment is people
Yeah. Okay.
talking amongst themselves, and fucking crisps. Who's bringing crisps to gigs? Crisps and Haribos,
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
rattling of the crisp packets and stuff.
And this was the world we're living in now, right? It's a bit sensitive, probably oversensitive in terms of what people are getting offended by. Is there, does that play in your mind when you're having material that you're kind of worried that something will get you cancelled or any that kind of rubbish?
No, I've got to no, because I don't normally do those type of topics anyway. Like,
Okay.
there's a big issue at the moment with transgender, you know, situation.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about it. I don't comment on. Like, I do a joke in the show. I have a joke a couple of years ago, and I'm going to put it in this show, and it's about Donald Trump, only because he's going to be back. He's you know,
Yeah.
he's going to be running for election in November, and the tour is going to be in November. So I've got this joke, like he's back, and he said he's going to do everything he should have done the first 4 years or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
joke about like he's going to build a wall. I'm like he's not, like, and he's going to get Mexico to pay for it. And I'm like, that's like me saying to my mates, like, right, lads, we're all going on a stag to Amsterdam and we'll have loads of drugs. Who's paying for it? Oh, my girlfriend's paying for it. Like, it's not going to happen.
Very sound for.
But that would be my take on
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't give an opinion on it because I don't know anything about it. And also, quite frankly, people want to come out and have a laugh. I don't think people want to come out and hear stuff about Gaza and Palestine and
Yeah.
Israel.
Fair point.
While I understand these things are all horrendous, and I fully get that, what can a guy with 180 points in leaving cert from Cork do to change that situation? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I can't. All like, what can I do? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's very hard. Like, I try to stay away. Like, I'm not on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter account because I think that's a cesspit of society.
Yeah. You're great.
So I just stay away from anything like that. It's just not. It doesn't interest me anyway.
And the comedy circuit, right, is how is it to break into in terms of, like, is it territorial where, you know, lads are trying to protect their turf or whatever it is? Like, is it an open environment, a friendly environment, or is it fairly like, this is dog eat dog to an extent where you're going to learn a lot about yourself?
I wouldn't say it's territorial. I'd say it's very, very open and very inclusive. And if you're good, you will be looked after.
Okay, very good.
I would really like to encourage more women to take it up. And I think there's been a great growth in women performing, which I think has been really good.
Yeah.
I don't understand, what it's like to be a female in comedy, because obviously there's a lot of late nights and traveling home, and I'm fully aware of that kind of difficulties for some people. Anyone that's territorial is normally pretty shit.
Okay.
Because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So they protect what they have. Whereas I like to perform. I perform everywhere. I just did gigs in Utrecht in the Netherlands 2 weeks ago. I go to Dubai every so often. I'm off to Sweden. I'm in England twice a month for 3 days at a time, doing shows. I do, I've performed there nearly in I probably performed in 16, 15 countries in Europe.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I don't have a territory. I don't want a territory. It's like, if your jokes are funny, they'll be okay, and people will book you. And what you got to understand as well is, like, not everybody likes me.
Yeah,
See, comedy is very subjective. Like, I've had people come and see me in Cork and hate me.
Okay.
Like, absolutely, like, putting in complaints about me.
Oh, really?
Oh. And you know what? I'm sitting at the back of the room practically getting fucking aroused. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's just that, like, you don't like me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Go off and find the people you do like, and best of luck to you. Like, I'm just a bit like I do have quite thick skin with it, because I love it so much. I've had all the abuse. I've had it all. And like, Chris Kent gets a good bit sometimes now and again. We all get it. As your popularity arises and the comments and TikToks and all that come around, you laugh it off. Like somebody accused me there recently of not being Irish. They said I was putting on an Irish accent so I could get more followers.
For fuck's sake. Jesus Christ.
So you kind of go, like, that isn't really, like, it isn't real, because these people don't come up to you on the streets and say anything to you.
Yeah.
It's not real. Like,
I have a question here. You kind of touched on it. Can you tell me what your toughest gig was, in terms of, in whatever way you found it the hardest? And I suppose, what were the kind of thoughts in the head at the time?
Oh, I did a private gig.
Okay.
Many years ago in Belfast. I was living in London, and I flew over for it, and it was Finance Awards. Now, sometimes you may not know this, but a lot of they often say, like, things like finance and property in the north of Ireland may be leaning more towards the British side of people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I got booked to do this, and they were not my crowd.
Right.
So, like, I actually think I suffered some form of trauma.
Okay.
I was doing the jokes, so I had to go on and read a thing. I was hosting this awards night. I was doing it anyway, and I had a video of somebody who was recovered from cancer.
Oh, all right.
And we played the video, and then they said to me, "Oh, by the way, you're going to do your comedy now." And I'm like, just after the cancer video. I don't really think my gags are. There should be a break.
Yeah. Just give them some bit of a breather, like.
But no, I had to do it, and I bombed hard, like to the point where I so much trauma. I thought I was urinating on myself.
Oh,
because of the trauma, like. You know the way when you get so scared.
Yeah.
Right. So I finished the show anyway, and we were in this hotel. I was staying in a hotel, and there's 2 bars in the hotel,
Yeah.
So I thought, and one of the bars was attached to the function of the gig that I was in. The other bar was like the public bar, like a hotel. So I said, right, I'm getting the hell out of here. I need a pint. So I ran around to the public bar. I took my tie off and jacket and all that kind of stuff. And there was some Premier League match on. And I went up and got a pint of Guinness. And I sat in an area where my back, nobody would know who I was.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to have 1 pint and I'm going to go to bed. But wasn't there an overspill from the function room? Didn't some of the people from the function come in? And I actually didn't see them because of the way I was positioned, because I didn't want, but they sat near me and I could hear them talking.
Oh.
Mate.
Oh.
like all I could hear was, well, that was one of the worst. Was he a comedian? Was he a comedian? I mean, I don't. I mean, surely there must be some way. Was he paid? Was he paid? Right. And I remember sitting there going, if I move from here, they're going to see me.
Yeah.
So what do I do? Like, so I kind of finished the pint and I thought, I'm just going to bolt. Like, I'm just going to get up and just go and just
Yeah.
head down, drive on up to the hotel room. And I bolted anyway. And I got out of the bar and I was like, just go to bed, forget about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it is like, you know, these things happen in life. And this guy was just coming out of the toilet and he came up to me, he looked at me, just went, I thought you were supposed to be funny.
Oh, Jesus.
I was waiting for the lift, right? And the
Yeah.
lift was taking ages.
Oh, man.
And the guy was like just looking at me, and I actually genuinely I was like, all right, yeah. Like,
What do you say to that?
like, went to bed that night, rang my agent the following morning, and I said, if they want their money back, they're not getting it. I said,
generally too.
I said, comedy is subjective, tough shit.
Yeah, oh, brilliant. That is brilliant.
But you know what? I look back on that now, and that's a funny story to tell.
It is. No, it is, to be fair.
So, like, for every awful experience you have, in a way, I go, that'll be a great story for the lads.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, like, your resilience, you know, you gotta have resilience when you're
Yes.
doing something, like,
Definitely.
I would have quite a little bit of social anxiety sometimes. I wouldn't like to be, when I go to comedy gigs now, I wouldn't like to see the crowd beforehand. I wouldn't like
Yeah.
to be around the crowd or anything like that. I'd get quite anxious.
Yeah.
But once I'm up there, I'm not anxious at all, you know. And like, you gotta like have your resilience. Like I've done about 23, 24 TV shows in England.
Wow.
None of which ever gave me anything massive.
Yeah.
But I'm probably only good on 2 of them.
Okay.
It is what it is, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not suited to panel shows.
Yeah.
My style isn't short. I'm probably suited to maybe hosting it.
Okay.
But then again, you have to be like a superstar Jimmy Carr or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like Chris Kent, for example, he's like, I'm not suited to certain things. My style doesn't suit things.
Yeah.
You know, a winger isn't really good at playing left back, is he? Like, you know what I mean? Like it is.
True.
You got to find what you're good at and just get really good at that thing you're good at and see what you can do with it. And you know, my thing is I like doing stand-up and I like telling stories and I like building a following on social media and I like people to come and see me and hopefully they enjoy it. You know, like that's what I'm very lucky that people do pay and come and watch me, and I'm very grateful. And if it ended tomorrow, what a great life I've had doing it.
Yeah, I love the content. I really, really do. We'll say if I'm working with athletes, I always kind of get them to reflect on a performance. You obviously touched on it. If I'm with a group of 4 people, we go to see you, each one of us will take something different from the show.
Yeah.
But how do you reflect on a gig, whether it went well for you or not? Like what would the process be in that for future learnings or whatever it may be?
So if I did an hour on stage and 59 minutes of the show couldn't have gone any better, I'll only think about that 1 minute.
Okay.
Now, I won't think about it too long.
Yeah.
I am my own worst critic anyway. Like, but I do have a little bit of a cutoff. Not every performance is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So you have to accept that there will be a timing issue. Like I might speed up too quick, or I've done jokes where I forgot to put in the feed line, which is the setup. Like I've just done the punchline, I've never done the setup. And they all just sitting there not laughing. I'm going, why the fuck are you not laughing? You know, so like you forget, like, and like, you know, sometimes I could start too fast, or I can so I did a joke. I'll give you a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
I did I'm written 2 jokes recently. One is I wrote this joke about my girlfriend, right? And I said, do this gig in Belfast, and the first 2 minutes was brilliant. Like it was brilliant. Like I was like, oh, this is gonna be. I was having so what I did was I went quite dark very early.
Okay.
And I just said, you know, I love living here. You know, I live with my partner. She's great and blah, blah, blah. I said, my girlfriend, she's here. You know, she's from the north. She identifies as British. Now, my ex-girlfriend, she's from India. And would you believe my girlfriend before her, she was actually from Baghdad in Iraq, which is true, right?
Okay.
Everyone's looking at me going, why is he saying that? Because I just want to tell you, there's a bit of a team here. I like dating women that come from countries that have been occupied by the British, right? Right. So
Okay.
they booed me.
Oh, they didn't.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite gags, right?
Oh
Then
man.
I say like being occupied by the British, and I go, you know why? Because they're easy to access. You can stay as long as you want. You can mess the place up a bit, and you don't have to give them back their jewelry, right? Because that's a reference to the Indian jewels that the British stole from India, right?
Yeah.
And then I turned on the crowd. I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" There, I said, "That is a perfectly crafted gag." I was like, the structure in that, and then and then I did another joke, which was got my girlfriend an Irish passport for Christmas. I thought what she wanted was a little bit of freedom of movement, right? So I hid the passport on her, and then just before we were going on holiday, she goes, "Where's my Irish passport?" And I said, "I hid it on you." And she goes, "Why did you hide it?" I goes, "I just wanted you to know what it was like as a Northern Irish British person when someone tries to take your Irish identity away from you." Right? That joke got a round of applause at the same gig. And I said to the audience, I said, like, they are two anti-British jokes, and you can't pick the side. But I started too hard with that. The first joke was too hard.
Okay.
What I needed to do is like, but then what I do is I do jokes about Ireland, then I take the piss out of Ireland then as well.
Okay.
I call myself the cross community comedian, like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I take the piss, like, it just have
Yeah.
I'm not into the politics, like, but that joke was too hard early on.
Okay. Yeah.
But that joke would be a joke that would be more like halfway through.
Okay.
When the audience have built up their trust in you, their likability about you. Oh, we like this guy. So, this guy's good. He can push it a bit. But we like him. We let him get away with it.
Yeah. Okay.
They didn't like me enough after 2 minutes to let me get away with it. So you're always assessing when is the right time to put something in.
Okay. Right.
So,
Okay.
so like in this tour now, I'll probably start off just talking a little bit about very light stuff.
Yeah.
Very light. I have a whole bit about nearly crashing into a cyclist.
Yeah.
Right. All about very light, very relatable, and I come across as the hero and the villain in it, and everyone can relate to it, and everyone's building up, and they're like, "Oh, this guy, oh yeah," and then you build them, the trust goes up, and then you start hitting them with the stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you have to. So it's like performance. What do you look back? I look back on the placing of the material.
Okay.
Where should this go, and that kind of stuff.
That is class.
What I look back on, like I look back on the placing of it, like where if it's a crowd that knows me, you can kind of be a little bit tougher at the start. If they don't know you, soft. Build up the relationship with the crowd.
That's mad because I'd be sitting at a comedy gig. I'd never obviously think of that kind of stuff because I'm not in it.
Oh yeah, you have to build up your relationship with them. The trust.
That is mad. We're nearly at the end because I'm really conscious of your time, right?
All right.
Just in terms, and I'm classing you as a high performer now because the level you're at, the people you're kind of getting to perform in front of. What would your 3 pillars of performance be, do you think?
Three pillars. So 3 things that are very important.
Yeah. So is it consistency? Is it,
I started to dress a lot better on stage.
Okay.
The reason being is because I often believe, especially with my style of comedy, I need to go in low status.
Okay.
So I always need to be at the same level as the audience.
Okay.
So for my style, I can't have a high status.
Okay.
So, I have to have a low status. So I would wear just jeans and a t-shirt, jeans and a shirt and a pair of trainers. So whatever the audience is wearing, I wear the same. Some comedians can wear suits and stuff, but I go out equal to the audience.
Okay, wow.
The audience are watching me, they're like, this is a guy in a shirt and a pair of jeans. He's so relatable. If I go out, I'm wearing a 3-piece suit, I'm a higher status.
Okay, yeah.
Therefore, if I'm doing jokes where I'm punching down, I'm taking the piss out of someone on minimum wage when I've worked minimum wage jobs most of my life.
Okay, yes.
But if I'm in a suit, I'm just picking on someone.
Yeah, okay, I mean, I can get with you.
If I go in on a lower level, be like, I worked minimum wage for years, tell you what pisses me off as a general public.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the side of the worker then.
Yes.
See what I mean? So
yeah.
So I wear a black jacket and a t-shirt underneath, a little Diesel t-shirt, and I wear the same clothes for the tour. Now I'll have 2 outfits that I'll wear. I'll rotate them every night, and the audience look at me and they look at me, and I'm on the same level of the audience.
Man, it's mad. That's mad.
Yeah, so that's why Jimmy Carr wears a suit, because Jimmy Carr does jokes. His status is high, but he doesn't actually talk about anything real. He just creates words with jokes. You know what I mean? So Chris Kent would be the same, just a t-shirt and jeans. So you have to be on the same level as your audience. So peak performance for me is being relatable to the audience in terms of when they look at me, they look at somebody that could be their mate.
Yeah, okay. Builds that connection then obviously.
Builds that connection. Like, oh, this guy doesn't think, like, imagine if I walked out in a Rolex watch and a $3 grand leather jacket and a 3-piece suit and gold chains and stuff. They're like, who's this dick?
Yeah. Thought he was from Cork.
Yeah. Like, how can a guy from Carraglen get away with that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, stuff. I have just I have quick fire questions here, right? I just want to go through. So the 5 questions and we're done and dusted. So what's the most valuable lesson you've learned about mindset throughout your comedy career, and how has it impacted your success?
Relax. Just relax.
Okay. Just relax. Brilliant.
Just relax. Just relax.
And can you share a pivotal moment where you had to adapt your performance to overcome a challenge during a gig?
No, but I can tell you a pivotal moment when I've had to change my thought process on my career.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
The best and worst thing that ever happened to me in my life was my mother dying.
Okay, very sorry to hear that.
The thing that ever happened, but also the best thing for me.
Okay.
And I know this is going to sound really weird, but
Yeah.
because I lost my mother, I was like, I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
And because I didn't care anymore, I relaxed.
Okay. Okay.
Because I was so hurt, and I still am hurting from the death of my mother.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than my mother. So if comedy goes tits up, it's fine. So then I relaxed. When I relaxed, it's weird. It's really weird.
That's mad. And 2 more. What's your secret to, I suppose, setting goals in such an industry? You know, whether it be your podcast, whether it be future tours or whatnot.
I don't set goals anymore, because if you could hit 5 goals and miss one, and you'd only focus on the one.
Okay.
I think I've overcome that now. To me, if I'm having fun and I'm enjoying what I'm doing and people are coming to see it, to me, that's just what it is, and what will be. It's a different industry in terms of goals. We don't really different sport, you know what I mean? Comedy is it's a bit different.
Okay. And I suppose, how do you navigate the balance between staying true to your own unique style and kind of evolving with current trends or audience tastes?
I watch a lot of comedy. I do try to keep up to date with how things are going.
Yeah.
General vibe of people at the moment, like there's cost of living issues, housing in the south, and wars, instability, and new tech, all this kind of stuff. So it's a matter of trying to stay on top of that and what people are thinking, and trying to be up to date with the way that is, you know what I mean? So like, you have to be present today as well to talk about. But also, like, I could write a joke today for November, and that joke could be completely out of date by November.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, so like, when you write, you kind of have to write stuff that that will still be relevant in 18 months as well. Yeah. So I'm not a topical comedian, you see. So yeah, it's kind of up to date, stay on trends. Like, I do stuff now, like I do quite a bit of stuff in the show about Instagram and stuff like that, like,
Savage. And last question, I suppose, when you're faced with rejection or criticism, I suppose, what strategy have you used to maintain that kind of resilience and keep yourself driving forward?
You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
There's people in my own family that don't even like me. So you can't please everybody. So, like, don't worry about it. To me, the way I look at it is, there is room for everybody, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you're doing, like there's room for you.
Yeah.
And just worry about that. People say to you, like, oh, I don't like what you're doing. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Nothing. You're working in a nice pensionable job, probably in the public sector. You know, it's a job for life. If you can go on a sick for 9 months and get full pay, then automatically the day before your pay gets cut, you get fucking better again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said,
Agreed.
you're all miserable. We're only having a laugh.
Yeah. Andrew, where can people find you? And do you want to share information about your upcoming?
Yeah, Instagram at Andrew Ryan Comedy and TikTok at Andrew Ryan Comedy. I'm coming to Cork later in the year. I've got 2 shows at Collins, nearly sold out. Ballincollig is nearly sold out, and down in Ballycotton as well. I've done a few Everymans before in the past, but I wanted to do the clubs this time. Please do come and see me if you like what I do, and if you don't, I'm delighted you didn't waste your money.
And also, make sure to check out Andrew's podcast,
Cork in the North.
Cork in the North. I listened to it. It's really, really enjoyable. I loved it.
We do mess. We're messers, like.
Yeah. I love the different accents, the slagging about Cork. Really, really good. Andrew, thanks so much for your time, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been really, really enjoyable. Thanks so much.
No worries, and the best of luck with it.
Cheers, buddy. And